When you buy or sell real estate anywhere in the country, you're going to have what's called closing costs. Here in Delaware, we have some of the highest closing costs in the country. So while it may be cheaper to live here than it is some other places, it is very expensive to buy and sell real estate because of those closing costs. So today we're going to take a look at the different closing costs that you'll pay on both the buyer and seller side, just to give you guys a little bit better idea as to what you can expect to pay in addition to the sales price of the home. Before we dive into the video, my name is Matt Lunden. I'm a real estate agent here in Coastal Delaware. I put out content each and every week discussing what it's like to live, eat, breathe, sleep, and play right here in Coastal Delaware. If that's something that you would like to see some more of, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button down below, smash the notification bell next to it just so you can stay in the loop each week when we go live with new content. And then if you are someone that's looking to buy or sell real estate here in Coastal Delaware, that's what we help you with every single day, and we would love to help you. So all my information is going to be down below in the description and here on the screen. Please do not hesitate to reach out. If you send me a message, me or someone from my team will be in contact with you practically immediately, and we love hearing from you guys here on the channel. To start, we're going to take a look at the seller side of the equation, just because there's less fees. While they do typically add up to a larger number than the buyer side, it's just easier to break down the seller side. So just looking at what you can expect to pay if you are selling a home throughout the entire state of Delaware, it really breaks down into only about 3 fees. The biggest portion of that fee is going to be your real estate commissions and whatever you negotiated with the listing agent of your home as to how much they charge to market your home. Again, this is going to vary. It is a negotiable fee. There is no standard fee. It is negotiable, and depending on your agent, they may have different levels that they offer depending on the services that they offer. And whatever agent you go with, I would just make sure you're selecting one with a strong marketing presence. It may cost you more, but it's going to bring you more in the end. The second largest fee that a seller can expect to pay is going to be the transfer tax. Here in Delaware, our transfer tax is very high, sitting at 4% of the total sales price of the home. So as a seller, you're typically going to be paying half of that. So you'll be paying 2% of the sales price of the home in transfer tax back to the county and the state, which that transfer tax makes up the large majority of both the buyer and seller closing costs here in Delaware. Again, we have a very high transfer tax. It was 3% previously. In 2017, they passed an increase up to 4% to cover a budget deficit, and it has been 4% ever since, even though they've more than covered that budget deficit. There's been a number of different bills presented to the legislator to try and bring that back down. As it sits right now, we still are at 4%. And then the final fee you can expect to pay as a seller is just going to be some miscellaneous items. That'll be like your wire fees for wiring any proceeds back to you. If you've got a mortgage on your home, you'll have a fee to satisfy that mortgage, to pay off the mortgage. And then just some, again, miscellaneous fees for recording documents and that kind of stuff, to administrative type fees to cover the administrative side of your transaction. All in total, the sellers can expect to pay likely somewhere between 6% to 8% of the sales price of the home in closing costs. Again, that could vary a little bit just based on the real estate commissions and just what the administrative fees are, that you're being charged. But between 6 and 8% is a good gauge as to what you can expect. If it were me and I were doing my planning as to what the transaction is going to cost me, I would plan for that 8%. And when it comes in a little bit lower than that, at least I know that in my head, I had more than enough calculated that it wouldn't be above that number, and it will more than likely be below that number. As we switch over to the buyer side of the equation, buyers often have a lot more fees than the seller side. However, the dollar amount of those fees tends to be lower than what it is on the seller side. The bulk of the buyer side of the transaction, again, is going to be that transfer tax that we see. It's going to be 2% of the total sales price of the home. If you're buying new construction, you could be on the hook for all 4% depending on the builder that you decide to go with. And if you're a first-time home buyer, you may get a reduction in that transfer tax just as a way to make home buying a little bit more affordable for those first-time home buyers. There are some reduction opportunities there through the state that you can get. Again, just to make it a little bit more affordable for those first-time home buyers. As we look a little bit further down the buyer side of the transaction, we're going to have some prorations. And prorations are going to be items that the seller has already paid for that you are reimbursing them for. So that'll be things like property taxes. Our property tax bills come out one time per year. So if there's 6 months left in the year, you're repaying the seller for what they've already paid for. Same thing goes for sewer. Those bills come out quarterly. So if you're closing in the middle of the quarter, you just owe the seller back for the remainder of that quarter. And then it'll go on for HOA fees or anything like that the seller has already paid for in advance. You're just reimbursing them down to the day as to what your portion of that bill would be based on the remainder of time left between when they paid it and when the next one is coming out. As we take the next step down the side of the buyer, we've got the lender fees. So lenders, if you're getting financing, it's not just free to get that mortgage. There are some fees associated. There's going to be an appraisal fee that you'll likely pay prior to settlement. It's going to be for the appraiser to come out and just verify the value of the home. Then you're going to have some other fees associated with that lender, such as origination fees. You may have some application fees. There may be some points involved. So depending on what the rate is, if you're either buying down the rate or to get to a certain interest rate, you may have to pay some points, which one point would be 1% of the total sales price. So just to give you an idea, like, again, I'm not saying this is the number of the interest rate today, but say the rate's 6.5% and you want to get to 6%, it's going to cost you money to buy down that rate, and those are called points. So that just could be another fee that you see there. And then there may just be some other miscellaneous fees associated with using a lender, such as document prep fees and those kind of things. The next step is going to be your attorney fees and title fees. So they're going to do a title search on the home to make sure that you own that home free and clear and that there's no liens against the home. Nobody did work on the home that wasn't owed money and didn't get paid. All that stuff just to make sure that you're purchasing a home, and when you purchase that home, you own the home and somebody else doesn't have a claim to it based on a lien. And then along with the attorney's fees, again, just the fee for the attorney handling the settlement, you're going to have some wire fees, some document prep fees, and just some miscellaneous other things that will go into the recording of your deed with the county, just so that, again, they make sure that you own the home and that it's been handled correctly and that the transaction was handled in a legal manner. The final set of fees for the buyer is going to be your miscellaneous items, and these really vary based on where you're buying, and that's largely because a good number of these fees deal with HOAs. So if you're not buying in an HOA, you won't see a lot of these fees. But if you're purchasing in an HOA, you're going to have things like a capital contribution fee, which is a set number that everybody buying into that community pays at settlement. And that goes towards either the reserves for the community or just saving up some money for capital improvement projects, depending, again, on what that community is doing. And then you're going to have, you may have a property management transfer fee where they charge you a fee to get you set up with your key cards for the pool or the clubhouse or whatever amenity they may have. And just getting you set up in their system, that comes with a fee associated with it. So you can expect to pay, again, a transfer fee in a lot of cases and a capital contribution fee if you're buying into an HOA. Both of those items are typically HOA specific. So if you are not buying into an HOA community, you likely will not have those fees associated. The final fee that you'll see on the buyer side of the transaction is going to be the homeowner's insurance. You're going to pay for 1 year of that right up front at closing. And then if you're getting financing, the lender will escrow a small portion of that each month. And then when that bill comes due again next year, they will just make that payment on your behalf, so you don't have to worry about it. This just makes sure that the lender has their interest protected, because if they've got the asset of the home as their collateral, they want to make sure that there's insurance on that thing, just so if anything goes wrong, they get their money back. All in total, on the buyer side of the transaction, if you're going with a resale, you can expect to pay between 3 and 5% of the total sales price on the home as closing costs. And then if you're going with new construction and that builder is not covering that 2% of the transfer tax, so now you've got all 4% on your side, you can expect to pay somewhere between 5 and 7% of the total sales price of the home in your closing costs. Again, it's not a small number, so just make sure that you're budgeting for that as you're out shopping and looking for homes, just to give yourself a little bit of cushion as to what you can expect on top of just the purchase price and down payment of your home. That's going to do it for today's video on closing costs. I hope you guys have enjoyed the content. If you did, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button once again down below, smash the notification bell next to it, just so you can stay in the loop each week when we put out new content discussing all things Coastal Delaware and Coastal Delaware real estate. And then if you are looking to buy or sell real estate here in Coastal Delaware, we love hearing from you guys here on the channel. So all my information, once again, is down below in the description and here on the screen. We look forward to hearing from you, and we hope to be working with you soon. Look forward to seeing you guys next time. Peace.